Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clemett, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Anton is one of Australia's highest profile thought leaders, a specialist in the field of leadership, a best-selling author, and a motivational speaker. I'm not going to say too much more about Anton on this podcast because his story is extraordinary and I'd like him to share it with us. Hello, Anton, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Lauren. Thank you for having me. What an amazing podcast we're going to have together.
I love the conversation we're already going to have. It's just going to be great. So, Anton, tell us, who are you and what got you started in what you do?
Who am I? Anton Guinea, a proud husband of 30 years, my biggest achievement, who happens in his spare time to do a little bit of motivational speaking, leadership coaching and training, while still being an absolutely average triathlete, consistently average triathlete. So that's me. What do I do, Lauren? What a great question, because back in the day I was exposed to really poor leadership, and I went on a bit of a mission since then to actually help leaders not be poor leaders and not be poor humans, because I understand the impact that really crappy leaders can have on humans. And before that I'd had a bad workplace injury and I was nearly killed at work, so I sort of put the physical side of safety together, and now we've got the psychological side of safety, which is around this leadership stuff and helping leaders be good humans and to develop psychologically safe and high performing organizations. And I think one of the other origin stories was being on site out at CS Energy, which was it's been all over the news obviously since 2021, where they had a major explosion, and I want to give their leadership team at the time a wrapping, right down from their CEO to their senior leaders, because they did a really good job of managing that serious event. And when I looked at how well the leaders led under pressure that day, there was this like light bulb moment of, wow, if you can manage pressure as a leader, you can really keep yourself in control. And we've really lent into how leaders can have emotional control, therefore behavioral control and situational control. So our leadership work is probably slightly different to most of the leadership coaches and trainers, of which there are plenty. And we hope that we do things fairly differently and fairly innovatively and fairly impactfully. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Unbelievable. What I love about that whole thing was the priorities that you set right from the start. It's all about being the husband and the father and the human first. And then I don't know if I'd ever call anyone an average triathlon. Just to do a triathlon is a pretty cool thing. So don't ever put yourself down on that, Anton. Now, I know you talk about it and it's quite a quick story that you sort of brush over it, but to most people, to have that life-changing event where you nearly lost your life on a work site, and then to experience both poor leadership but also extraordinary leadership. There's quite an interesting juxtaposition there, Anton. Tell us a little bit more about the things that you learned through your own journey in leadership.
What a great question. Like, from nearly dying, and the challenge was that I was told in the ambulance that I could die up a few days later. So people regularly ask, so what did I learn from that, Lauren? Is that life can be short, and life is not guaranteed. And I think so for me, I'm always grateful. And people say, well, you're writing books, or you're doing triathlon, or you're flying around, or you're doing travel or whatever. It's because I've got to pack plenty of stuff in. And I think there's this thing that happens, this whole second life, I think. I don't know if that's a normal thing. I just call it the second life. And, I was a bit of a rat bag up until that age of 21. I was probably a bit of a rat bag after 21. And I realized at about the age of 21, my wife and I, when we moved away, and I didn't want to work as an electrician anymore, but I had to. And I came home from work one day and I said to my amazing wife, and we'd just been married, that no one liked me and I didn't like them. And I was angry with the world, and I was probably not the best human that I could have been. And Jules remembers that time really clearly, because she recounts this conversation somewhat regularly. And we reflect on a 30-year journey to actually get to learn how to be a good human and how to connect with other humans, because I realized probably at 21 that if I was going on the same trajectory that I was on, and if I continued on that, I wasn't going to ever be very popular. I wasn't going to get very far in life. And so I just realized, and now if you listen to someone like Daniel Goleman, who talks about EI, and that 80% of our success is probably based on how emotionally intelligent we are and how good we are with other humans. And I think that I've learned that skill over time, and it doesn't happen quickly. And I probably learnt, I did a HR degree, and I've done engineering studies, and I've done a psych degree, and now I'm doing a master's of research. And does that stuff help you with humans? Not really. I think it helps you with the knowledge of how to help other humans with this sort of stuff. But I think the biggest lessons I've learned in leadership is that it's all about transformation. And, I think that when I look at our team and I just look at how much they grow over time and how long they stay and how important their leader is to them and how important they are to their leader. And we have an IOU policy in our business that I owe them very much. So I say to them, I owe you. And then they say, well, Anton, what do you want from us? And I say, initiative, I, ownership, O, and urgency, you. So there's this like two-way IOU thing that we have with our team. And I think for me, I think if I could share with leaders out there, and I'd love to sit with a lot of leaders and say to them, I wonder if you realise just how important you are to the other humans that are around you. And there are some leaders who don't, and so therefore don't lean into the responsibility or the privilege of leadership. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned from leadership, is just how influential you can be on another human's life, and that ripple effect. And they go home and say something, and their kids go to school and say something, and then I've had Carly's sister say she did just one little thing in a job interview and felt like she got the job because of one body language change, and like just the impact or the influence that we have on other humans when we're leading them, Lauren, as you would know, is really just a mind blow. It's just like, boom, holy dooly, these people hang off every word, and they're guided, and they're waiting for us to lead them. And so we need to lean into that as with good human intent, so that our intent is pure, and that we go out on a mission to leave them every day. We need to leave people better than we found them. So, and that flows through to my coaching work. I've got 7 coaching sessions back to back tomorrow. I challenge any leader, any leadership coach or trainer out there to do, I think the most we've done is 12 in a day, 12 one-on-ones. And and when, as a leader, if you don't know what your why is, and as a leadership coach, if you don't know that every time you sit talking to someone that your mission, it's mission critical to leave them better than you found them, you won't be able to show up to 12, and for the 12th one to be as good as the first, or the 7th to be as good as the first. And so I've learned in leadership that it's about transformation. It's about transforming another human, and the same with the coaching work that we do. So hopefully that's an answer to your question. What have I learned about leadership?
There's so much to unpack in that. I love the bit about evolution and about knowing that you are constantly evolving as a leader, that you're never going to get to that point where you know everything. I'm so impressed with the fact that you've thrown yourself into all these different fields to gather as much information as you can and to continue learning. Do you think that is a big part of your thought leadership, Anton? Is this your big point of difference, or is there something else that makes you really innovative and impactful as a leadership person, as someone who heads up that expertise area?
Wow, great. Oh, thank you. I think yes and yes. So I think, as I said to my team, is this going to work? Yes or yes? Just influencing them in a nice way. Learning is really important. I don't think I'll ever stop studying. I know too many leaders who did a degree 30 years ago and still, their degree qualified great. Really, they're not. They're now experience qualified. There's so much, even, I feel outdated now because I did my psych degree only 3 or 4 years ago, and I feel outdated already. So I'm going to do master's study. But I was asked, it's funny, Lauren, I was asked and I didn't answer this correctly. I was business awards. Someone asked me, they're trying to work out whether I should get a business award. And they said, Anton, what qualification have you got that best set you up for leadership? And I sort of said, oh, that's what I did. I did exactly that. I went, talk me through it. I didn't realise that I could go and do that. I said, can you tell me? I don't think I'm going to get that business award. I said, you tell me where the piece of paper is that says you're now a great leader. And I don't think there is one, though. I think that leaders who stay current will give themselves every opportunity. And I nearly picked up my brain again, because every day, every week, every month, there's a new research report coming out. I've just surveyed a heap of leaders to try and understand what it takes for them to lead under pressure. And the answers that I've got from the surveying are totally different to what we expected. And so being current, Lauren, and that's the beautiful thing about, I guess, the internet these days, because the knowledge on the planet doubles pretty regularly, and we have every leader has the ability to go out and get some new information. Every speaker, there's speakers who have done the same keynote for 20 years, and good on them. Great, if you can get 10 grand or 20 grand to do a keynote for the rest of your life, go you. And I think people do. Whereas I want to listen to the speaker who's crafted the keynote for me, because it feels like I'm there sitting in the audience talking to that person. And so when we talk to leaders, we've already had business meetings today, you tell me what you're trying to achieve. Because we don't have a vanilla. And so I think that's what makes us innovative as well, is that every single program is different. We just built out a whole new strategy for a client this morning at 7:30 business meeting. And it's something that we haven't really done it in that format before. And I think that staying current and learning is absolutely crucial. Can I just put another comma and on that? Very value-driven organisation. So anyone in our organisation, Lauren, will tell you that we're driven by energetic. You've got to be up. You got to find a way to change your state so that if you're talking to a client, you've got to be up. Energy, engagement, it's always about the conversation. We are connective human beings. We are social animals. We've got to engage. And I share with our team. So our team comes to our leadership programs. They come to our public speaking programs. They sit beside me sometimes on coaching calls with permission, so that they become more learned, more experienced. So they get the experience as if they're a client, as if they're being coached themselves. Energy, engagement, and enterprise thinking. What we're always thinking about, Lauren, is how can we help another business be better at business? How do we help their leaders be better at leading so that they can grow these amazing businesses? Some of our clients, massive global organizations, others are the local, a local car dealership, and give Toyota a big rap because they're amazing. We just bought 2 of them off them because we just use our clients. So energy, engagement, and enterprise thinking and staying current is the short or the long answer to that question.
Yeah, brilliant. And it does come back, doesn't it, to that whole idea of evolution. You've got to meet the people where they are in their evolutionary journey. It's pointless having a out of the box, one size fits all approach. You've got people on a leadership journey. That makes no sense, does it? You've got to hit them where it needs to be, meeting them as well. I love that. Energy, engagement, and enterprise thinking. It's a really nice rounded approach to leadership. And for those who are listening, when Anton said, I've just picked up my brain, Anton has an amazing, colourful brain. If you're listening going, what is I'm picking up my brain? He has an amazing puzzle that falls into a brain. It's a bit of a brain teaser, and it's such a good a mnemonic that he uses for his branding, which is awesome. I love anything to do with the brain, so that's fantastic. Anton, what would one of your, and I know you've talked about, your priorities, husband, father, and so on, impactful leader and so on, but what's one of your biggest achievements, or one of the things that you're most proud of?
So probably 2 things. One is our staff. Apart from in my business life and my professional life, it'll be our staff, and just to see them grow and the retention that we've had. So we've had a staff member stay for 12 years, and I watched that human and then they go and become a general manager somewhere else. Starting off as a very basic bookkeeper. So it's really, as a leader, to be able to see that and experience that, and to send someone on their way to be an amazing human in another organization, I think is probably, I don't think people probably understand for a leader how much job satisfaction there is in that. And it's not something that you sing from the rooftops, hey, look at me, look what we've done. It's just that when you ask what's something I'm really proud of, is how we send other people out into the world, and which is really special. And I think actually also from a business perspective, Lauren, I think after 20 years, so we've done NPS over time, Net Promoter Score, which is an anonymous survey. So for any of your listeners, it's global. It's 3 questions. Would you recommend this business to another business because they're a promoter? If you don't like a service, you'll tell 10 people. If you do, you'll only tell 3, which is really interesting dichotomy or juxtaposition about the human species, right? And so we asked 3 questions. Out of 3, how would you rate TGG service? We get 2.9 out of 3. Like wow. Of 80 responses. We, as an organisation, hand on heart, hand on brain, hand on heart, I would challenge, and I throw this out to any business out there who's a consulting organisation, to show us an NPS of 84% or above. So we got an NPS of 84%, which is probably unheard of in consulting. And again, yeah, do we use that in some of our awards stuff? Absolutely. And I just feel like to be able to add that much value that people are so, like I've got to have uncomfortable chairs in this office line because this is my coaching room. We do full day coaching session. They say, oh, this will be easy. It'll only be an hour and then I'll get my whole day back. And I'm pushing them out the door at 4. Like I know people get restless after about an hour on these chairs. So, the people in other words, people want to come back. So we get clients that we just serve and we love serving. We're grateful to serve that just value the service and we value providing it, and it's a privilege to be able to do that to humans. I've already done coaching sessions today. Not many days go by where I'm not sitting, or whether it's a Zoom. Today was a Zoom with leaders. Tomorrow it's face to face on the site, and it's just back to back all day. And to do that is one thing. For people to say, hey, that was really cool, is another, and that's probably job satisfaction. And we have a no, if you don't like it, don't pay. If you haven't got heaps of value, don't pay, because we have an intangible product or service, Lauren. And so people, how do you measure the value of leadership training? And it's really difficult because we can, it's even IQ, you can measure IQ, but how do you measure EQ? And we can do EQ. There's a test that we can do, or a profile that we can do for EQ. But, we've got to the point now where we sort of nailed that as well. And we see something like 19% improvement in leadership skills, self-reported, I get that, over 6 or 9 or 12 months. And then to have that, so for a leader or a group of leaders, 10 leaders in one organisation, to on average report a 19% improvement in their leadership skills from start to finish, I don't know how you beat that. And I don't know how. And we always try. It's just always, and it sounds so conceited, and I get that. But when you ask me what I'm proud of, that's what I'm proud of, and I do it with ultimate gratitude for people. Without clients, we don't have a business, and so. But it is nice to reflect on it and go, you know what? Maybe we're just making that little bit of a difference out there on the planet Iron, which we have.
I don't think it's a maybe at all, Anton. Based on those stats and figures, it's a definite. The impact that you're having is extraordinary. And I think that the lesson I've got out of the stories that you're sharing today is, and I know because I've gone through this myself as a leader, is the proud approach that you have of the person you're becoming as your leadership develops. And you must see that with the people that you're talking with and working with, to see them transform in front of your eyes, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
I love it. I'm Lauren Clemett, and this is That's Audacious podcast that you're listening to. You can find us on all your favourite podcast channels and also on our website, and you can follow us on social media if you want to know more about the podcast or listen to more episodes. Now, Anton, you've mentioned a couple of times about awards. Why did you enter awards, and what have they done for you?
Lauren, so we measure everything. Internally, very often we sit back and say, look, what can we do better? Yeah, great results. And we still got clients out there that we feel like we could probably improve our service delivery, which is really important. And during one of those continuous improvement meetings, we actually asked the question internally, great results internally. Yep, cool. Can we get better? Absolutely. Now, if we're getting great results internally, is it real? If someone else looked out, so we felt like we needed a third party view. We felt like we needed nearly like an audit, like I suppose an umbrella view of, well, are you actually making that difference, or is that just chest beating? And so we we actually reached out, and we, really grateful for your organisation, Go the Audacious Agency. If you're not with the Audacious Agency, sign up fast. So we reached out to you, and that's how we connected. And we said, hey, we'd like to do an external audit, and we probably thought business awards are a good way to do that. And all of a sudden, we've been internationally recognised, nationally recognised, and like that's like unbelievable. We exceeded our expectations completely. Because we put in for some awards in the past, especially locally, and we've never really actually been able to win one. And I think last year we actually said, you know what, let's try again. Let's see, because I think in the last couple of years, I feel like we've really probably nailed, and we've sort of boxed up our service offering in a really cool way, so we can say that psychologically safe teams, so they're high performing. We really nailed down our service offering, even though it's not vanilla. And so, yeah, for people looking at our business, Lauren, and to talk to people like yourself, and then to talk to judges, we've had a few conversations around what we've done and been able to share our story, which we're really proud of, and the origin stories. And obviously, holy macanoli, now people want to talk to us, which is really interesting, and they want to know what we're doing. And we're lucky enough that we're in all sorts of publications now, which has been pretty special. And I think it really does. I'd recommend every business owner out there, I'd recommend you put in for a business award, because I guess the exposure and the credibility. So it's not just us saying it now. Like, if you can get an international Stevie Award for being a thought leader as an organisation, and it's the team, like that's pretty special. And that's recognition of all the hard work that all of our team do. And we're really grateful to yourself and to other humans that have been involved in that process. And it's nice. It's been really cool. So rewarding and I suppose gratifying to know that all the hard work's been worth it, especially when there's someone else looking in at your business.
Yeah, and it's been such a pleasure to work with you, Anton. We've really enjoyed the storytelling, but also the metrics and the interesting, the facts and the learning that we've had from interviewing you and writing your reward entries as well. And it's interesting because, as you said before, the field that you work in is very intangible. The product that you're producing, there's no real measurables and so on, and you're having amazing impact. So for us, seeing you win those awards for the impact that you're having has just been incredibly rewarding for us as well. So Anton, final question for the podcast. If you could go back and give yourself some advice as a younger version of yourself, what would that be?
Whoa. I think that bit of advice, Lauren, would be learn to connect with other humans earlier in life. So be a good human. So learn people skills. Maybe learn it at school, maybe, and you can't put an old head on young shoulders. I think just, and I was lucky I learned it early enough with parenting, Lauren. So from the time that our kids could listen, get adults to like you. Rule number one. And be likable, be approachable, be a good human. I wish someone had actually shared that. Like, I'm Gen X, Lauren. I don't like authority. I was raised in regional Australia, where it was inappropriate. It was really uncool. We communicated, by shouting at each other. And I just think that if I could go back and say to my primary school self, be good at getting on with people, because it will set you nothing. I'd give back the degrees in a heartbeat for more people skills. In a heartbeat, give me more people skills. So what else is out there? How do I talk to another human so that I'm talking to this thing and to this thing? So help me be a better human, team, and a better people person, and that'll do me.
Wow. What great lessons, Anton. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. And I know we've spoken a lot over the last couple of months. So this has been a real highlight for me. Thank you so much. Are there any last minute lessons or words of advice you'd like to share with our listeners?
Words of advice. Leaders matter. Leadership matters. And as a leader, you're going to be challenged. You're going to struggle probably in 2024, especially because a lot of the leaders are Gen Xers, and there's some changes coming, and then we know that they're there. Reach out if you need any help. We've got psych safety guidelines now. Mental health claims are on the rise. What can you do legally and morally to help make sure that your teams are psychologically safe? Yeah, and we're here for you, antonguinea.com.au or theguineagroup.com.au. You'll find us pretty all over the internet, so you'll find us if you try a little bit. And yeah, just with leaders, just sit eyeball to eyeball with the other leaders and care about your humans, value them, and support them. You get those three things right: care, value, support. Guess what? You probably have a really psychologically safe and high-performing team. So good luck to leaders out there. Stay strong, and thank you so much for having me today, Lauren. You're a legend.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anton. And all of Anton's contact details will be at the bottom of this podcast or in the blog, or the blog as I'm calling it. Please reach out, get in touch with Anton for coaching, for leadership mentoring, but also he's an awesome keynote speaker. So as you can tell from the stories we've learned today, brilliant on stage. So thank you so much, Anton. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're a legend, Lauren. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.